All right, welcome back, my friends, to All Cars. I am John, and this week it's time for another Motorweek retro review reaction. And I just got to laugh at this one. It is the 1994 Ford Aspire. Now, as with all of these, I've not watched this in advance, and I don't have a lot of really crystal clear memories about this car. I remember the Festiva was cheap and cool, and you know, in the 90s, if you've watched my channel before, I worked at a Saturn dealer for about a year. And that was cool because all the used cars, you got to go sit and play in them. So I got a chance to drive things like a Hyundai S-Coupe. I've driven multiple Metros. And, you know, this car, I've driven it. And I think the thing that stands out about it to me is it left absolutely no impression. I think it may be the least memorable car of that era because I don't remember it being very good, but I also don't remember it being a complete train wreck where you love it because it's truly so bad. So, as always, grab your beverage of choice, have a seat with me, and let's take a little trip down memory lane to try to remember this car.
Motorweek is made possible by Lucas Oil, Auto Value and Bumper to Bumper, and TireRack.com.
Subcompact cars may be small, but they represent a big part of the American car market. So big that Ford, America's top automotive brand name, has two of them. One's the well-known Escort, but the newest small Ford is so new that so far it only has aspirations of success.
I like that Escort. I know this isn't what this is about, but I like this generation Escort a lot. I thought it was a neat, nice little car that just performed well as a car. Let's see what they say about the Aspire.
And it's these ambitious hopes that give the Ford Aspire its name. Longer and wider than its Festiva predecessor, the Aspire abandons that car's shoebox look in favor of smoother, more European lines. It also offers both 3 and new 5-door bodies atop longer wheelbases. All Aspires ride on 13-inch steel wheels shod with all-season radials. Optional alloy wheels are available for those who want a sportier look. Those buyers can also opt for the full SE trim grade, which adds fog lamps, a rear spoiler, and upgraded seat fabrics to the base car. Inside the
let's go back a little bit. They're flying through this just a little bit. You know, the Festiva, I thought it always had its charm because it looked low and like they drew a rectangle and then put a hatchback body on top of it. It felt cheap, right? Like the seats were thin and everything was thin, but it also felt open and airy, and what it didn't have in sound deadening it made up for with just tossability. It was kind of cool because it was just cheap. The Aspire never rose to that for me. In an effort to style it more, they made it look, to my eyes, smaller and bubulous. It looks taller from the ground. It looks taller on its tiny wheels. It looks taller. The proportions don't work for me. They ended up making something that looks tighter, and by trying to be more, actually looks like it's less car than say the Escort, for example. And the styling just doesn't really work for me. I mean, the front's not repulsive, but it's not really attractive, just kind of bubbly. And the rear, I don't know, it just doesn't work for me. I think part of it is I like my hatchbacks with more of a vertical glass than the slant you see on these. And to me, that just says, you know, oh, you're styling it, but you're also cutting into what could potentially be cargo space back there. And the taillights just ended up looking too small. I mean, there's just a lot about this car that there's nothing about it that makes me think, oh my gosh, that is so ugly. But there's nothing that makes me think, hey, you know what, that's cheap, but that's kind of cute. I hate to say it, it's kind of the same way I felt about the Pontiac Le Mans, the rebooted one, which is actually a Daewoo. That, you know, it's bubbly and but that car was actually so bad that it was kind of cool. So I don't know. This is hard because the styling is not repulsive, but it's just also not good looking.
Inside, the Aspire replaces the Festiva's angular interior with the smooth lines of a modern Ford and a surprising amount of room. Safety features are also abundant. Both driver and passenger side airbags are standard, impressive for an entry-level import car. Front seating is firm but could use more thigh support, yet is otherwise quite comfortable. You have to buy the SE model to get a tachometer in an Aspire, but our base car's standard analog gauges were easy to read. Heat and ventilation controls are also straightforward. The optional air conditioning is CFC-free. Rear seat room is respectable for a subcompact, especially in the 5-door.
You know, all of that, I mean, not an interior that makes me go, oh my gosh, right? Particularly if you've seen these before, you know I cannot stand the trend they used to have of having the super low floor and then having an ever larger gear shift lever. That just screams cheap to me. And the rest of the interior, it's actually not styled badly. I don't love the levers on the HVAC. That was kind of a holdover. But it's functional. It's clean. And, you know, it's not as, honestly, the dash is not as cut up as you would see from other Ford products in the 90s. It is obviously built to a price point. There's nothing nice here. The textures aren't nice. You know, they did a little styling to it, but it's just built to a price point. And unfortunately, you know, while that's good, sometimes you don't want to be reminded you're cheap. And I think that's why they styled it a little bit. But I don't know. It's another, it looks okay, but there's nothing really to write home about and say, wow, that's pretty cool.
Solid folding rear seat back is standard. Split backs come with the SE and are part of a package for the base car. And all Aspires have improved cargo space over the Festiva. Output of the...
Whoa. I got to say right there, so it's interesting, they didn't really harp on it, that the seats don't lay flat, so you end up with that jump right there. You know, that's minor. Probably they could have spent another $20 and had the rear seat cushion fold up so you could actually get it flat, but probably doesn't matter to most people. And I do like how the seats had those darker colored strips in the middle. That looked kind of cool, but you gotta say, to take a full-size suitcase and lay it like this, that was pretty nice. That's a pretty good little cargo space. You know, back when I had a Versa, I'm not sure if it would have done that. Good space usage.
The Aspire's 1.3-liter engine is also up, but only by 1 horsepower. It feeds 64 horsepower and 74 pound-feet of torque to the Aspire's front wheels. With the 3-speed automatic, acceleration is leisurely, 0 to 60 in 13.8 seconds. Shifts were a bit on the abrupt side, but gearing was well suited to the car's modest output.
64 horsepower. That I know it's 1.3 liters, but it is a 4-cylinder. And I know this isn't one of these new turbocharged, you know, Ecotec engines, right? But that sounds like so little horsepower. And then still, boom, popping in another 3-speed transmission here. We're in 1994. This car is, the powertrain was probably competitive for its time, but underwhelming. You know, there's nowhere that Ford, or whatever this car is based on, is really swinging for any fences here at all. They are using tried and true, built to a price, and let's just be happy with it. I'm fascinated to hear what the price is, and I'll be honest with you, I did not look up the Aspire before this. For the life of me, I don't remember where this came from. I know that the Le Mans was a Daewoo, designed by Opel, I think, and came in through GM. But this, it screams Suzuki to me, but Suzuki had a tie-up with GM. So after this video is done, I'm going to have to go look and see what this is based on, because I know Ford didn't design this from the ground up. And before we move on to this incredibly slow, by the time I'm done talking, they might reach 60 miles an hour here. Look how tiny the tires are. These are so cute. You're so cute.
19.7 seconds at 71 miles per hour was required to pull the Aspire through the quarter mile. Our advice, order the 5-speed manual. With McPherson struts up front and a torsion beam in the rear, handling prowess was predictably modest with moderate front plow. And soft springs made for plenty of body roll on the track, but also provided our 3-door test card with a better ride than we expected from its short 90.7-inch wheelbase. We did expect good fuel mileage from a car that's EPA rated at 29 city and 34 highway. Our average was 31 miles per gallon. But what we didn't expect on a basic subcompact were optional anti-lock brakes, which allowed the Aspire a good 125-foot average for stops from 60. While we're discussing numbers, let's get to the very important ones.
Before they get to the price, a couple of things there. First off is not a bad stopping distance. Now, again, if you've watched any of the ones I've done probably for the past several months now, I've really kind of honed in on 115 as that magic number. If you're there, you're really good. 125 is not bad at all, and much worse than I expected. You'll notice they're all dressed in coats, so you expect things are a little chilly. That makes the stopping distance typically on asphalt a little bit longer. These tiny little wheels. Anti-lock brakes on a car this price, this cheap, that's really surprising. So nice, no drama, stop. I'm not jumping up and down that 125 is, oh my gosh, it's beating a BMW. It's not, but that for a car that you're buying for basic transportation and where stopping and the ability to not go very fast to get in trouble is going to be key to keeping you safe. That's really impressive. That's really impressive. It's a shame the car looks like this, though. But let's see the price.
That make up the price. A base 3-door Aspire, like our test car, starts at $8,535. The base price climbs to $9,150 if you add 2 more doors. Ford named its newest small car the Aspire for a number of reasons. Chief among these was the desire to more than double the Festiva sales figures of 33,000 units per year. Considering what the Ford Aspire offers the subcompact buyer, better than average safety features for an entry-level subcompact, a solid powertrain, and very competitive pricing, that's one aspiration it has a good chance of reaching.
Very interesting. I mean, as you can expect, a little boring. I expect this video to get approximately 0 views because I don't think there's anybody out there really interested in the Aspire. And it really made like no kind of history in the in automotive world. I don't think that, you know, there's cars that have come out like the Yugo. We still talk about the Yugo because it was just so bad. Mostly. This just really made no impact at all. And I think this is, in many ways, one of the most generic cars I can conceive of. The styling is generic. It's not repulsive. It's just not beautiful. The interior is a lot of plastic and it's cheap, but it looks fine. The performance is slow, but not so slow that you are ragging on it, right? That you're making memes about it. It gets up and goes. I mean, if you want a $9,000 car because all you're doing is commuting back and forth to work and you want it to be as efficient as possible, there's nothing wrong with this. You can throw people in the back. You can throw some luggage back there. But then you're not getting the absolute fantastic, amazing fuel economy. I am not sneezing at 31 miles per gallon. But if you were hunting, I need a small car for the best gas mileage, I do think you could have done better. So this car ends up as something that's fine, and it reinforces what I thought at the beginning. I know I've driven one because I know I've driven a Festiva and thought it was cool because it was just so cheap, but you know, probably a little out of date, and as they said, didn't sell very well. And the Aspire replaced it, and my vague memory is it was nicer in every way, but not memorable at all. And I think that's what this review kind of said. Everything was just, it's fine. Thanks for being here, guys. Let me know your any thoughts below.